car's performance is looking strong compared to our rivals at the moment. Check it out, and we'll review it in more detail later.
Hey, what's going on, guys? Aarava here, and welcome back to another episode of my F1 2017 career mode, episode number 103 today for the Bahrain Grand Prix in Season 6. You can see Chris is giving us some news about our development. He's happy with where it is, but at the moment, also, we're not exactly where we want to be, long term. You can see there's quite a hefty gap on paper to Ferrari and Red Bull there. We're actually quite close to Force India, but as I've maintained the entire time now for the last 6 seasons, really, I really don't think that chart means too much in reality on track. We've seen Force India being very strong, in glimpses for the first 2 rounds of this season. We've seen Renault had the pace at the end of last season. This year, again, like Season 5, they've not really started off to the best way possible. And I don't know, maybe that's a characteristic of the team or the AI, maybe. I don't know, it'll be kind of interesting to see if once again they pick up pace in the second half rather than this first half. And if that is the case again, they may be left frustrated by the end of this season. Speaking of frustrations, obviously, last race was an amazing one for us as a team. There was a bit of, frostiness, to say the least, between myself and Lewis Hamilton, my teammate, and hopefully we can put that past us and try and move on, because obviously, we're both level on points at the moment, but we're down the order in terms of standings already, and it's clear the car definitely needs a lot of work. So let's move on into this Bahrain Grand Prix, which is probably not the best place to actually go to following such a difficult Chinese Grand Prix, because you guys know Bahrain's pretty much been the bogey circuit for me. I've just got no pace around here compared to the AI in general, so it's going to be a tough one to really get into, but we're going to go through the practice programs as per usual to try and earn as many R&D points as we can, and try and develop the car. Obviously, we've got a pending upgrade at the moment, but we want to try and keep on going, and we might just be able to purchase a brand new upgrade by the end of this episode. Maybe not. We'll see. It's going to be definitely close for sure. But if you did miss the last episode number 102 at the Chinese Grand Prix that I just talked about, be sure to go check that one out before you see this one. I just want to address the fact that I've seen a lot of comments in the last few videos I posted on the channel saying, where on earth was this series? Have I ended it? Guys, just chill out. It's December now. It's if you've watched F1 on YouTube, or you've watched my channel at least, you guys know what the gist is. Obviously when the game first comes out, hype's at the highest. We're going to be doing daily videos on the career mode, on the normal career mode, but now we're getting to that period where things slow down a little bit for the normal vanilla career mode. I'm doing my actual biggest series on the channel, which is My Driver. That comes out every Friday. Then we've got a new series starting up, like the co-op with Tom that I'm doing, where I'm in the Ferrari, he's in the Red Bull. I'm doing that online career mode that just got uploaded yesterday. And just in general, things are, there's a bit more variety coming back to the channel, because now the mega hype for just the vanilla bog standard base game is starting to slow down a little bit, and that's just the way F1 YouTube has been for like the last 3 more so years, especially on this channel. At least for me, I like to kind of change things up as soon as the hype starts to die down a little bit. Obviously, I appreciate there's a lot of you guys who still want to watch plenty of this series, but just know that's not going to be daily anymore. It's going to be, maybe at least 3 to 4 episodes a week. Maybe not all in a row. Maybe they're going to be interchangeable with other videos, but they definitely will still come 3 or 4 every single week. But it's just not going to be daily, as maybe some of you guys were under the illusion it's going to carry on that entire way. Definitely not the case, because, there's other series to do, like I just mentioned. But anyway, let's move on into it. Let's get past all that, and let's get focusing on this video and the racing here. We're going to go on towards qualifying then. Obviously, going to start off in that rather annoying period that I kind of have the same gripe with from Australia, where it's kind of like half and half. Sun's going down, so the glare gets in your eyes, but we're just going to have to drive through the pain, and it's Q1 anyway, so the hope is that we'll get through. Even though I'm terrible at Bahrain, the hope is I can still get through Q1 pretty comfortably anyway. And we did, obviously, as you could tell there on screen. So we move into Q2 then. At the moment in Sector 2, really trying to wring the neck out this Mercedes car, and still trying to find the knife-edge balance of this car. It really is, like Lewis Hamilton recently said in an interview, or even Toto Wolff actually said this in an exclusive interview to the FIA, the Mercedes car from 2017 was a real diva that they had to try and control. That was Toto Wolff's words, not mine. But I really agree with that, and I can kind of see that, actually, surprisingly, Codemasters have done a pretty decent job at kind of maybe coding that into the Mercedes car. I don't know if it has to do something with maybe what the AI team did in terms of upgrades, throughout the first 5 seasons of this career. That's maybe upset the balance. Maybe they've done too much on like the aero side and not enough on the chassis, or maybe they just did too much on reliability and now I don't know, something's just thrown off about it, but it just definitely doesn't feel anywhere near as comfortable to drive as the Renault, as even the Toro Rosso from all the way in Season 1. Like, literally, this Season 1 Toro Rosso, I feel like many points already in these first 3 rounds was way more comfortable than the Mercedes car, and unfortunately in Q3, well, this isn't really to do with the car, it's really just more Bahrain, as I said, being the bogey circuit, and we're just unable to bring it out of the bag, and we're down in P10. You can see, though, the lap times rapidly improved from Q2 to Q3, like, everyone turned up the wick, even my teammate Hamilton really turned it up for Q3 compared to Q2, so that took me aback a little bit, because we're kind of okay-ish in a you know, decent enough position in Q2, but then Q3, slam dunk, just, you know, right at the back, unfortunately. So, yeah, gonna have to do a lot of work now in the race, and once again, the Red Bull's looking very, very strong, and I'm sure the Force Indies and Ferraris will have something to say about that, though, because generally, Bahrain's been an engine circuit in the game, and also in real life as well. It's very much, you need a lot of power there, and so the Red Bull cars haven't really gone amazingly so far in the career mode history, so surprised they've actually locked it out, but in the race, it may be a different story with heavy fuel. But let's go to the full grid then, see if there's any penalties to maybe, fingers crossed, help us out. If not, we'll just see how it goes then and get into the race.
With that then, let's run through the grid order. Daniel Ricciardo starts from pole position today, and starting alongside in P2 is Sebastian Vettel. Looking down the rest of the grid, we have Verstappen, Hülkenberg, Esteban Ocon, and Hamilton, Raikkonen, Perez, Palmer, and a Mercedes, Grosjean, Sainz, Felipe Massa, and Magnussen, Kvyat, Stroll, Marcus Ericsson, and Pascal Wehrlein. Van Dorn and Fernando Alonso starts from the back of the grid. And with preparations almost complete, let's head down to the track.
Right, so here we are on the grid then in P10, no penalties to talk about, so let's look ahead at that strategy. It's going to be that kind of awkward strategy, really, where we've not really made it work, let's be honest, for the entire time. We might have made it work in the Force India last season, but obviously we got into that kind of hefty crash with the 2 Ferrari cars in Season 5. But it's that 2-stop, super soft, soft, and the medium tires. The 3-stop, you can see, is 11 seconds longer, and I just don't think we're going to make that time up in the Mercedes car, so we're going to go for the 2-stop, try and do the best we can, but I'm not feeling too confident, I'm not going to lie. So I think this one's going to be a big damage limitation race, and that's really annoying to say coming off the back of last episode of the Chinese Grand Prix, but that's just the way the cookie crumbles, I guess. So let's get into this then, as we're going to 5 red lights for the Bahrain Grand Prix. Round number 3 of Season 6 is underway, and it is a sluggish start for ourselves, even more so for the likes of Kimi Räikkönen up ahead. It's a good one for Sergio Perez, our teammates to the inside, and trying to make some places up as we go into turn 1. It's Vettel and Verstappen on the exit. Vettel trying to take the lead this Grand Prix. A little bit sideways from Perez, and oh, Raikkonen's even more sideways, and he's off circuit. He's off on the grass on the left-hand side. Don't know if he's out of this race, but yellow flags in Sector 1 then, as we're going to try and go around the outside of Hülkenberg. Green flags as we enter Sector 2, right around the outside of our former teammate in the Renault days, and we're going toe-to-toe with him. Going to squeeze him a little bit to the right, then pull to the outside, leave a bit of room, but we're just about going to squeeze through, and we're up into P6. A little bit of a shimmy and shake on the exit, and so now we can look at the back of our teammates Gearbox, then Hamilton in P5. So at the moment, though, I believe it looked like it was Sebastian Vettel in this Grand Prix. He's actually taken it away from both Red Bull cars. Look at that. One of the Red Bulls is down in P4, I think that was, or P3. So look at this on board from Raikkonen, though. We're going to look at a replay of what happened here. It looks like it just got kind of tapped away by Hülkenberg. To be fair, Kimi was already kind of cutting the corner, basically, majorly off circuit. And then, oh, he actually has a collision with, Fernando Alonso. It already had a penalty. Fernando had already had a penalty, and he was already at the back of this grid from wherever he qualified, and then he gets hit with his former teammate from Ferrari. T-bone crash there into the exit of turn 2, so miserable start to the Grand Prix for both those guys. But yeah, with Kimi's kind of crash there, he was kind of already off circuit, so he kind of only has himself to blame for not kind of backing out of that. Meanwhile, though, Hamilton now down the inside of Verstappen, around the outside, then Verstappen cuts the corner majorly. A little bit of tyre banging there on the exit. That slows down Max massively, so to the point where we can now have a good run on him, and even maybe on Lewis, as we maybe try and even pinch P4. We're up into P5, though, on the curbing somewhat, though, because that doesn't give us the best exit, and actually that allows Verstappen to come back at us then on the left-hand side. We're going to just hope that we can squeeze him out. We kind of open up the steering wheel deliberately there on the right-hander, and we're going to keep that P5. So a really good start there from us in general on lap 2, but not a great one from the Red Bull cars from locking out the front row. Ricciardo's now down in P3, and Verstappen's in P6. You can see Sergio Perez, that is, I think, or Ocon, actually, no, because Perez is behind us. Esteban Ocon is in second place, so that's absolutely amazing for the Frenchman, the man who obviously replaced me from Force India from last season. And Vettel on the minimap, you can see, is waltzing away though in P1. Now we move on to lap 3, and again Hamilton goes for the same move down the inside, and again makes some contact with the Red Bull car. This time it's of Ricciardo, and again the Red Bull now cuts the corner once more. So some pretty debatable coding from the AI there to keep cutting the corner on that turn 2. But we're going to try and feed it to the outside now, Ricciardo. Ricciardo though is on soft tyres, so we should theoretically have the pace to try and overtake him here compared to Verstappen. You know, that was more him getting flustered. Ricciardo did as well, but he's put up more of a fight actually. But on soft tyres, you would imagine we should have the grip, and we do so to be able to hang it around the outside then. And we're up into P4. So Merc 3-4 from what was, I think, P7, P10. So really, really decent start to the race for us as a team. Obviously, even better one for the Force India Ocon, but that's going to be ruined because Hamilton is on it like a car bonnet at the moment, making up for what happened at the Chinese Grand Prix. And he's up into second place now. DRS moved down the inside, got back to the racing line before the braking even ended, and he's up into P2, and now maybe has the chance to chase after this man, Sebastian Vettel, in first place. But he's looking very comfy, and to say Ferrari have not looked amazing so far in the first 2 opening rounds. It's been pretty much all Red Bull and even kind of Renault / Force India really for that second fastest team. To speak of them, Renault at the moment highly underperforming. They're going and squabbling with Sergio Perez, but look at that, the 2 Red Bulls are doing even worse. Both Red Bulls behind both Renaults, and Sergio Perez's Force India. So both Red Bulls having issues in this race at the moment as we start it. Meanwhile, Perez makes some contact with Hulkenberg as Hulkenberg taps the rear end of Perez, and Perez trying his best to remain in this Renault sandwich here. So it's all kicking off behind us there, and annoyingly not really much is going on apart from a little bit of a tank slapper on the exit. We're going to come in on lap 6 then. You can see not early actually, that's right on cue to when our engineer wanted us to come in, and Palmer actually joins us in, our fellow Brit, into the pit stops then. So we've got the luxury though, I haven't really mentioned this before in this season, but due to the Mercedes car having the first pit box, actually it's going to mean that most of the time we hopefully won't get held up too much in the pit lane, because we're going to be out faster. We're going to be serviced faster and going down the pit lane first. So actually in theory we're going to be holding up others, and you can see on the top left that's exactly what we've done. We've held up Jolyon Palmer, and so now Perez has got a free jump on him, and that was kind of due to me kind of going down the pit lane at the right time to hold up Palmer. Speaking about holding up another Renault, we hold up Nico Hulkenberg there into turn 1. He's made an even earlier pit stop. He's on to super soft tyres, so that suggests Nico is going for that 3 stop there, so he's confident about maybe his pace in the Renault car. Definitely, as I said, I'm not in the Mercedes car, so we're going for this 2 stop. We're committing to it, and so on lap 9 we're setting a personal best there, so going well on these new set of soft tyres. Rich Mix flying down the inside of Pascal Verlaine, is going a little bit longer on those super soft tyres down the inside. A little bit of a lock up on the right hand side, that's fine. Raikkonen sets fast after the Grand Prix, so obviously he's down the order and he's really having to get a move on there. But if Raikkonen, I guess if he could get to the points, I reckon that would be a good race for him after being backwards at turn 2. Meanwhile now, as we move a few laps later on, Ricciardo round the outside of Sergio Perez. Then obviously the 2 Red Bull cars we saw were behind Perez and both Renault, so both Red Bulls trying their best to get back. There's Verstappen in the background behind Jolyon Palmer. Ricciardo's still fighting Perez, and Palmer now is getting involved a little bit, looking left and right of the Mexican, and Ricciardo the Aussie still trying his best, and he's still having to give Perez the room, and this fight is still going on. Absolute great ding-dong battle between Ricciardo and Perez. Ultimately though, Ricciardo does get it, and you would imagine that Red Bull downforce comes into play in Sector 2, especially so. And it looks like maybe Red Bull just had a kind of small issue right now, and maybe they've fixed it some sort of way, because now to lap 14 as we move on across the line. Ricciardo in the slipstream, but Perez is there, and actually unfortunately for Ricciardo, he gets boxed in between me and Perez, and so Perez is actually the one that's going to make the move, and Ricciardo tries it around the outside. So we kind of stayed awkwardly in the middle. I'm just hoping that no contact's made. There wasn't between myself and the 2 cars, but there was some contact made with Palmer, who tried to sneakily get in the middle of both those guys, Force India and Red Bull. So we stay home in P4, but the fight's most certainly not over there as we move on towards lap 15 then across the line, and Perez is going to come back at us now in this slipstream. DRS open, this time no Red Bull to contend with there, just me and him, the 2 former teammates from season 5, and we go on the outside then. Perez decides to try down the inside. We've locked up a bit on the right front tyre. That's fine though, and we've actually kept it well through. We had a pretty decent line. It got a little bit tight on the exit of turn 1, so I was kind of scared Perez might have chopped across us like we've seen in the past 2 races some of the AI do, but no matter for that. We've stayed up in P4, and Perez has to tuck in for P5. Behind there, it looked like the Red Bull and Renault were fighting there, so Ricciardo getting kind of maybe bogged down somewhat once again as we move through towards halfway through this race now to lap 16. Again now Perez trying to make a move. This time though we're on the inside rather than the outside then, and we're going to have to open up the steering wheel a little bit as Perez is still there side by side with us. We do open it up, and we're going to try and squeeze Perez off. off a little bit, and Perez actually ends up cutting the corner there. So that was a little bit debatable. I feel like if I was in that situation, I would have lifted off if I was Perez on that inside line. I mean, I gave him enough room. He was on the curbing though, and he continued to just take the curbing into turn 2. So a little bit debatable from there. But as I said and mentioned before, there definitely is some debatable coding from the AI into turn 2 sometimes. They do love to just completely ignore where the white line is, or even the inside white line, let alone the outside one for the curbing in turn 2. But anyway, we move into lap 17 and we're onto the medium tyres now, and we're going to the end of this Grand Prix. So that's 12 laps on these mediums. That should be fine. That should be okay for us. It's just really going to be about the consistency. As I've mentioned before at Bahrain, it's you know, it's not like sometimes I can get the lap hooked up and it's a pretty decent lap, but I feel like I can't just ever bang in the same lap times lap after lap at Bahrain, which is obviously the crucial thing when you've got a long 50% race to go on. You have to keep on the consistency up, and Bahrain just definitely not the circuit where I can be that consistent compared to every other circuit where I go to, and it's made worse by the Mercedes being very, very questionable lap to lap. You know, sometimes it'll feel great one lap on low fuel or rich mix, and then the other lap it just won't be. And now you can see on lap 18 a little bit more misery to add to at the moment how much defending we would have to do. Is Max Verstappen is ahead of us. He's jumped us in the pit stops. He's just had that much better pace on the soft tyres, quietly gone about his business and did the overcut strategy basically. So the overcut working a treat for him, and he's up into P11 now. So that's going to be P4 once everyone comes in the pit lane, and we're going to be down to P5. So I think we might be fighting for a best of P5. Onto lap 20, there was a bit of solace. You can see I'm getting away from the cars behind us. You can see Ricciardo was right up our chuff, but he's now behind Perez. You can see in the mini-map there's a huge gap to Perez, but even a bigger one after Perez, because Perez and Ricciardo, I think, fought, and I think Ricciardo may have had some contact there, and he's kind of fallen away, and so that we got away from Perez somewhat, and he did see we set a green personal best, but then straight on lap 22 then, we're just inconsistent. We lose some time in Sector 2, especially in Sector 3, and Perez now is back to our outside, trying to overtake us. Once again, we're going to try and open up the steering wheel on the exit of turn 1. A little bit more tyre contacts made there, but this time, though, we give him a lot of room into turn 2, and he still takes the curbing there and lifts off majorly, and so we're going to keep P5 there, but very much a lot of fighting being done in those first two corners, a la 2014 with the two Mercedes cars, although I'm not fighting a fellow Mercedes, I'm fighting just a fellow Mercedes-powered car of the Force India of Perez. But on lap 24 then, again, just trying to keep ahead, but this time, you know, we didn't get caught by Perez and DRS, so that was kind of good, but then 2 laps later, Perez builds up the momentum once again and comes back at it. Kind of like you attack once, doesn't make it work, so he has to kind of compose himself for 2 laps, comes back again for another attack, and he does so right now on the outside again. We're to the inside, locking up again on that right front tyre. Really loving those lockups in this race so far, but this time don't even need to squeeze him off. He just can't make it work around the outside, and we're able to keep P5 pretty easily. But he does get a better run though, because I think he broke a little bit earlier and got a much better exit off turn 2, and so into the end of sector 1 we have to do a little bit of defensive work, shimmy to the inside, then kind of took the middle part of the circuit and just took the racing line really, and so we're going to keep P5 that way on lap 27. But now we move on to the end of that lap, and Perez has a great run through the last corner, so we're going to squeeze him a little bit towards the wall, towards the inside of the track. We're then going to look to swoop back to the racing line and just try and take the better line to that corner. We tighten up the corner for himself, and so that's going to compromise himself so much so that he gets overtaken by Julian Palmer then. So we kind of helped our fellow Brit Palmer there by making Perez's life a nightmare through turn 1. As we go on, you can see Perez does come back at him though, trying to go around the long way round the outside of Palmer and trying to get that P6 back from him. They go side by side to the S section. Palmer unable to get it for now, but he just about gets his nose in there, and actually I think there may have been some contact there, and Palmer just about gets through, so a little bit of controversy. I feel like there was a bit of contact into the S section, but Palmer does get it, and we're going to hold it through for P5 thankfully at the end of lap 29. Sebastian Vettel's the one that wins the Bahrain Grand Prix though, with the fast lap of the Grand Prix on the last lap of the race. So Ferrari and Vettel may be back in Season 6. Maybe, no, not even Ferrari. Vettel, question mark, back in Season 6. He has been woeful this entire career mode. There was a patch, literally, I think, 2 or 1 day ago from recording this commentary on the F1 game. They talked about maybe changing some of how the teammates perform, particularly in the McLaren, though. I'm not too sure they've changed that for the Ferrari at all, but at the moment, Vettel's AI now is looking pretty good. He's won 2 races out of 3 now in Season 6, whereas before, it was very clear clear that Vettel's AI for some reason was coded slower than Raikkonen. So I don't know, maybe the patch did change something, but either way, he's on a roll, and he's got 2 out of 3. But a great race there for my teammate Hamilton, so fair play to him. Second place, as I said, damage limitation for me, so I'm going to take my humble pie and just kind of, you know, be happy with P5. It's the best I could have hoped for, maybe P4, but it was going to be tricky to hold both Red Bull cars back. But, you know, I've got to take what I can get at this race, and I'm sure we'll be a lot better. I'll be looking to bounce back at the Russian Grand Prix for sure. But Ferrari move up into first place now with that win ahead of Red Bull Racing. So, as I said, maybe even Ferrari are kind of back, because obviously they finished down in P3, was it, in the Constructors in Season 5? So, yeah, looking strong for now. And again, Renault down the order behind us still in the Constructors. Another slow start to the season for them, when clearly their car definitely is fast enough to maybe be going toe-to-toe. And so as we move on to the end of the episode, some interesting developments in the reputation there. It looks like I've severely pissed off Force India in general and some of the other lower teams. Ferrari kind of hit and miss with me at the moment, and the same can be said of Red Bull, but I'm not going to take too much kind of reading into that. But anyway, guys, if you have enjoyed that episode, hit that like button. Let me know what you thought in the comments below. If you are new around here, then do get subscribed for weekly Formula 1 content. I've been aarava. Hope you enjoy the rest of your day, and I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.